Hello, my next gen millionaires. Good. Well, I'd say good morning from where I'm at because it is morning when I'm recording this video. And for any of you who hop on, it is morning time for everybody. So, well, at least here in the States. I know not everywhere in the world it's morning. Anyways, um, oh, I always derail myself at the beginning. Cool. So, I'm here this week, as always. For those who are new to the group, I try to get in here at least once a week and live stream a little bit. I'd rather live stream than chat. Like, I know there's not a lot of prompts in here, and that might change in the future, but for right now, I like live streaming. I like the personal conversation, and for me, it's easier. So, I'm gonna do what's easier for me, and hopefully, you guys can consume this in a way that makes sense for you. I try to keep them all really short too, so whoever's watching these, I try to keep them relatively short. That way, they're easily consumable. I can give you some potent, powerful information that you can go take action on this week. And I always invite people to post in the comments or even in the group. Like, you can post in the group and be like, "Hey, I watched this video. This is what I got out of it. This is what I'm feeling." Um, Please share. Um, I'm here to help. I can't help you if you don't. If there's nothing from you coming, so I'm gonna keep putting content out here, and I hope you'll share like the insights and ahas you have based upon what I talk about each week and the conversations that we're having inside this group. So, anyways, this week I want to this is something I see a lot too with people I talk to, people I observe, right? Because I observe people like in the news, in the media, and I'm like, huh, interesting. That's interesting behavior. Why would they say something like this? Why would they behave like this? A certain way. Um, but in some of the conversations, especially with personal clients, so a lot of the information I bring to you is also what's happening with my personal clients and my one-on-one clients. Things will happen. I'm like, oh, that's good. I should talk about it because I start to see trends. I'm very good at seeing trends and kind of these patterns. Um, Anyways, in talking with people, it brings up the topic for today. So the topic for today is really about the attitude of accomplishment. Um, there's a lot, like, still with everything going on in the world, there's a lot of stress and anxiety around this virus thing. Um, and I believe, like, there's a lot, like, we want to stay healthy, we want to stay, you know, uh, we want to stay really healthy for ourselves, right, and for our families, and stay safe. So that's my first admonition always is stay healthy and stay safe. What's happening though is we're getting caught up in what the market's doing. So we start having a lot of fear money stories showing up. So if those are coming up, I catch those. Like, oh, there's not enough. We look at the stock market's doing all kinds of crazy up and downs and all arounds. Um, you know, from however you look at it, politics in the United States are really crazy right now. Very kind of polarizing beliefs out there, a lot of contention, just a lot of unrest and uncertainty in what's happening. Okay, and that's important to look at because it starts to trigger all those old stories about how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about money, how we feel about relationships. There could be a lot of strained relationships right now. We've been inside for many months now. A lot of people are like going to the super extreme, not leaving anywhere. Some people are like not staying at home at all, and some people are somewhere in between. Um, Depending on where you live in the country, depends on what restrictions have been lifted or which ones are being putting back on. Uh, so there's a lot of like turmoil in like the everyday kind of routine that we've been going through. So the interesting thing that I've seen come out of this is a lot of people forget to kind of have celebrations about what's going right. Right? It's very easy right now to focus on what's going wrong because there's a lot that's going wrong. There's a lot of different perspectives out there about how things could be different or better. The thing is, we're focusing on the kind of macro issues that are happening, and we're overpassing and we're glazing over. I guess a better way to say it, glazing over the micro accomplishments that are actually happening in our lives that we could celebrate and start changing some of this energy because there's going to be all the crazy out there. I just want to say that, right? When we look at even like as a dig into the attitude of accomplishment, there's crazy that happens out on the outside all the time, right? Um, and if we touch on the attitude of boundaries a little bit, it's up to us whether we want it to come into our lives or not. Sure, it affects us, right? Politics, the stock market, um, what's happening in the economy. All these things affect us to some level. However, I'm a firm believer that we can bypass even the hardest of times based upon how we approach it. What's our mental thought around money, around ourselves, and then how we approach these difficult conversations and situations. And I'm very clear about that because I've had people push back and be like, "Well, you just don't understand. It's not that easy. Not everybody can pivot." And I get all these excuses. I'm like, "Well, those are a bunch of excuses for what you can't do right now, but what can you do?" Right? So if we start to shift that conversation back to what can I do? Because there's a lot of things we can do if we just shift our perspective or change our attitude. Okay, and I'm very clear on that. Because how we show up in the world is how the world responds to us. And you hear stories, and there's a million stories out there about people who rose from nothing into something. And everybody's like, oh, but because of blah, blah, blah reason. And I'm like, no, we can all accomplish that. If one person can do it, we can do it. I'm very clear about that. Now, there's lots of different factors in that, right? And we can spend all day talking about the nuances and factors, but we're going to talk about it just generally for a moment, right? We're high level. If we want to get into the weeds, that's a different conversation. But what you can start doing for you right now, right, and everything that's going on in the world is focus on the attitude of accomplishment, which says that, guess what? We can celebrate our accomplishments. The things that we do that might seem mundane, that might seem like trivial, we should be celebrating those. Because as we continue to celebrate us and what we do, we find joy. And that's not all, like, we shouldn't base all joy in our life off of like the fun things that we do and these accomplishments, but that's one portion of it, okay? And where there's joy, there's always money. Guaranteed. We've had this conversation a lot too. People say, like, Joe, how can that be true if, like, you know, bad people are making lots of money? Well, bad people are like really aligned with whatever nefarious deals they're doing, and they're pretty happy. Like, honestly. Like, deep down inside, we could psychologically look at it and be like, probably not really happy, but blah, blah, blah. But in the actions that they're doing, they're actually quite happy. Remember, money's just a resource. It's an inanimate object. It's neutral from all, like, good or bad discussions. It just is. So if we can look at this and be like, joy, okay, where can I find my joy today? It's always a good question I ask myself. Because if we can find the joy in what we're doing, we can celebrate it, and it feels good. And as we power ourselves up, and as it feels good, then we can start celebrating more and more things. And as we celebrate that, it creates this momentum. And as we create the momentum, then we start taking the real action we want to change our lives. Perfect example of this. The YouTube video I watched a while ago, and there's this guy, I don't know how many of you have seen this, there's kind of this, they call it like an analog kind of synthetic kind of music that's happening. And when I say analog, it's because they take like PVC pipe, right? And they make it certain lengths, and they have these like rubber flat paddles, so it's almost like a hand pop in the top, and it makes music. If you ever want to see like any of this, it's actually some cool music. Like these guys will haul it around to like parks and stuff. But anyways, I was watching this one time, and he was really good. Like I enjoyed I don't know, it was like a 7-minute YouTube video, so it caught my attention. So I'm like, okay, cool, I'm gonna watch it. And it was really cool as he's sitting there banging on the like his pipe drums, I guess is what you call them. And there's this crowd in the park that starts to form around him. And he's like sitting there jamming, whatever, you know, doing all this stuff, and he finishes his set. And I don't know if people didn't realize he was done, or if they're just like still mesmerized by what he was doing. That part I don't know. But what was interesting was that nobody clapped. So he sits there and he's like, just, you know, like I said, the video was like 7 minutes. So he's jamming there for at least, and it kind of started a little bit into the set. So he's there for like 10 minutes just jamming away. And not a single clap, like nobody. But there's all these people. So you know what he did? He celebrated himself. He was the first one to start clapping. And guess what that did? As soon as he started clapping, everybody else, like the crowd, and they got really noisy. They're like, yeah, hoot and holler, you know, they're clapping and like cheering him on. But it took him to celebrate himself first, for other people to start celebrating him. right? So what I want you to do to focus on this week is look at those things. Sometimes we have to celebrate ourselves. Now, all the old stories that you feel, like mom, dad says, don't, like, I always heard Debbie say this, her parents always told her, don't toot your own horn. And I've heard that saying before. But as we were growing up, there's some stage in our childhood that somebody said, you can't celebrate yourself. There's this programming inside here that says, oh, you can't celebrate yourself. Or we did something really cool and we're like celebrating it and someone didn't give us attention about it. Right? There's some stories. So if you got to find it, and there's a process to get rid of it. If you need help with that, reach out to me and I can help you. But anyways, it's like look back at what you're doing each week, each day, and celebrate those small things. Celebrate those small accomplishments. Because here's the deal. If we don't celebrate the small things, then our brain pushes it off. Now pretty soon we have to do like some huge accomplishment to be able to celebrate ourselves. We have to get like some award from work, or we have to, be praised by somebody important to us. But guess what? It's never going to happen if we can't celebrate ourselves. You have to be your biggest fan. Because if you're not, then how can you expect anybody else to? If you look at accomplishment in your life, you have to celebrate all the things. There's a whole conversation around like the bad things that happen to us, and do we got to celebrate those too, Joe? Well, we can celebrate some lessons that we learned about it, not because it had to happen, but because it did happen. But if we can't celebrate the strength we get out of those bad situations, if we can't celebrate the retrospective things, or the things how we changed so we could overcome it. Because again, how we show up in the world is our choice. No matter what happens to us. You can argue against me all day long, but there's been plenty of bad things that have happened to some really good people, and they've still come out of it. There's some bad stuff that's happened to Debbie and I. We've come out stronger on the other side. Is it painless? No. Is it easy? No. Is it worth it? Always. So what I want you to focus on this week, what I want you to look at and think about, is what can you celebrate? What's the one thing you can celebrate this week that you did? It doesn't have to be much. But I promise you, if you do it, you'll find more joy. You'll see yourself differently. And as you do that, other people will see yourself differently. They'll start celebrating with you. And as they do that, then that relationship with them becomes tighter. And as your relationships are fostered, and as those become stronger, then the resources, one resource which is money, will start flowing more into your life. The resources we're looking for always come via other people. We got to be connected. But you got to be connected to you first. And to do that, here's one step. Start celebrating you. Okay? So I want to hear in the group this week, watch the video. Like this is an important one. They're all important, but this one is like, I can't tell you how many people like disregard this as just simple like, oh, you want me to celebrate myself? Oh, that just seems so weird. Well, it's only weird if it doesn't work, and it's never going to work if you don't try it. So celebrate yourself this week. Let me know what you're celebrating. I want to cheer you on, because I can't know what you're celebrating if you don't call it out yourself. So let people around you help celebrate you as well, but you got to call it out. Okay? So until later, I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you have any questions or comments down below, or just post in the Facebook group. There's no rhyme or reason. Like, I don't have like set of rules, so just do it, and we can start having that conversation. So until next time, see ya. Bye.